What's up, guys? This is Luke, the PMCM. Today we are looking at revitalizing a snowblower. I'm going to bring this snowblower back to life. Now, this snowblower was my grandfather's. I have never started this up. I have never seen it started or running. It was in the garage, and we're gonna see if we could bring this thing back to life. And I'm gonna show you some of the tips, tools, and tricks that I use to do maintenance on my snowblower, but more specifically to bring a snowblower back to life. There's 3-4 things that you wanna do to a snowblower if it's not running. And hopefully this video helps you bring a snowblower back to life or do maintenance, either one, whatever you choose. Okay, so the couple things that I need for a snowblower are oil, spark and a spark plug wrench, WD-40, some starter fluid, some gas, and an oil pan. And let me just go through all of the tools and everything needed for this job. Pretty much just a wrench and a couple nuts and bolt sockets. But specifically, this snowblower uses 5W30, and I'm using fully synthetic oil. This was about $7 at Home Depot. The spark plug I got from partswarehouse.com. It was pretty easy. I just put in the make, model, serial number of the snowblower, and they said, hey, use this one. So let's see and make sure that this is the right spark plug. A spark plug, I just got this little cheap $5 spark plug wrench because it does make it a lot easier on snowblowers to use this type of spark plug wrench. Obviously you can use a ratchet and extension, but this was just on the shelf next to it and I grabbed it. For snowblowers, I always douse every component with WD-40. This helps prevent rust and helps get all the nuts and bolts moving and bearings flowing right. Starter fluid, definitely am going to need this on deck when it is 0 degrees out and you cannot get this thing going. A little spray of starter fluid goes a long way, especially when it comes to starting it up. And then I use this stuff, it's called SeaFoam motor treatment, and what it does is it helps just lubricate the internals of the engine, the carburetor, the cylinder heads, everything in between. It's just really good to do this at the beginning and the end of the season. And if you're not going to use it for a long time, I do this on pretty much all my lawn mowers, all my weed whackers and things like that. Now, this model is an electric start, so we will run power to it and help using the starter fluid do the starter, but I'm also going to try and see if I can get the pull start working, because if you get the pull start working, you know this thing's running 100%. The final thing that I recommend for all of my small engines is the pre-mixed TrueFuel. This is the 4-cylinder, the 4-cycle fuel oil. If you have a 2-cycle, it's a red can, but I use this for all of my small engine things, and I've never had to change a carburetor after using this gas. Again, the 2-cycle for the weed whacker, the 4-cycle for the lawnmower, snowblower, but this, instead of pre-mixing it with the fuel stabilizer and anything else extra if you need to put the oil in there, the premix stuff just does such a good job of keeping your carburetor clean and your engine running good. Not sponsored by anybody, but an old handyman gave me that tip like 4 or 5 years ago. I said, why am I going through so many carburetors? Why am I cleaning all this stuff all the time? He said, use this stuff. It's double the price of gas, but you'll never have to clean a carburetor again. So boom, let's do that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is drain the engine of oil. We're going to replace the oil, the spark plug. Then we're going to spray it with WD-40. Then we're going to see if we can get this thing back to life. So let's start with the oil. All right, so let's start with draining the oil. Every model is a little different, but the concept is pretty much all the same. There's a oil release plug somewhere, and you just undo that and hope that the oil drains out and it's not sludged up. It doesn't help that today is about 40 degrees because it's a little cooler, but that's okay. I would rather drain the oil now than start it up and risk old oil corroding in there. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around so it's draining downhill. And we're gonna put our oil pan under, maybe that way. There we go. There's our oil pan. And let's just see what happens. Again, this is done on the fly, zero prep in this thing. I'm just recording a video because I figured it's December in New York and I'm sure everybody is thinking about their snowblower and their snow prep for the year. So there we go. There's the oil coming out. I'm gonna try to tilt it just a touch. I'm probably getting oil everywhere. But we're gonna let that drain as much as possible. Yeah, tilting it helps. It did get oil on the ground. EPA, don't report me. There we go, that's even better. The other thing I can do is open up, probably that's what I should do, is open up the oil fill cap and get a really good, suction going on there. There we go. All right, so we're gonna give this, 10, 15 minutes to drain. You can see it really slowing down, but that's exactly the reason that I did not start this, because it looks pretty light on oil, and that is black oil. Let's take a look at that. That is no bueno. It feels sticky, and that is not what we want. That was extremely low on oil, but more importantly, that is extremely sticky oil. I'm gonna show you what good oil looks like. Okay, so that looks good. Looks like the oil is done dripping out. I'm gonna put the dipstick back in. Not gonna tighten it all the way, but most importantly, I am going to put the cap back on the drain valve, and I'm gonna put that all the way on. And it's a little more than hand tight. You don't have to crank it down, but you don't want it loose. Snow blowers rattle a lot, so you definitely want to make sure that it's on there tight, but you don't have to crank it. You just don't want this thing going loose while you're using it. Another shout out are these Crescent wrenches. I found this couple weeks ago, and I have not stopped using it for plumbing, all sorts of, but it's an auto adjusting wrench. Pretty cool. So here you can see we're just tightening that hand, more than hand tight, but I'm not cranking on that bolt, but that's not going anywhere. And I'm just gonna clean up this oil mess. Okay, before I even think about putting oil back in this, I want to change the spark plug. So this particular snowblower, the spark plug is right on top of the engine. It's really easy. Just remove the wire there, and we're just going to take this out. Sometimes it helps just with a little WD-40 on there, because this looks so rusted. So let's just spray it on there, see what we can do. But what I like about this $5 socket wrench is if it was the Airens model or I think Husqvarna, they have a really, really deep spark plug, and you need like a little extension tube to get in it. But anyway, let's get this spark plug out. Lucky that this guy's on top, because it is pretty stuck. There we go. And let's see if Parts Direct had a good match. Again, all I did is type in my serial number. And they said, use this spark plug. So here is the old, and here is the new. They both say Champion on them, and they both say RJ blah 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 blah. So looks like a good match to me. I do recommend taking a little bit of oil and just putting it on the lip in here. It'll just help when you want to take it off. So I'm going to take some of the old oil, just put it on your finger, and I just kind of smear it around here. It'll just help next season when you try to get it off. Now you can spray directly in to the port where you took the spark plug out. So I'm going to put a little bit of this SeaFoam in here, and you could just put a little drop into the crankcase. It says add 1 ounce for each quart of oil in the crankcase. So yeah, I'm not going to get too exact here. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to add a little drop in there. That's good. If I had to guess, that was 1/4 of an ounce. And that, maybe I'll give this a little crank. Now, I don't have the spark plug in, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm not going to get any spark or ignition, but all I'm doing is just working that sea breeze. I don't know why I keep calling it sea breeze. SeaFoam into the snowblower. Let's see if we can see it doing anything. Sometimes you can see it kind of spit out. Yep, there you go. I'll show you this. So here we go. But I see it, and I also feel this pulley getting a whole lot easier. So that means it's doing its thing. Maybe I might add another little drop in there. And again, I'll do the same thing. There you go. Now you can see it sputtering. Okay, so let's get our spark plug in there. And spark plugs only go hand tight. You do not want to crank on this because next year you won't be able to get it off. Hand tight. Put the plug back on. Okay, so next up, let's put the oil in there. Now, I thought I had a funnel, but the only funnel I have is bigger than the dipstick, so that's not going to work. So all we're going to do is just pour really carefully. They say it needs about 1 quart, but I always see that it's less than 1 quart. It's probably closer to 3 quarts. And yeah, let's just pour some oil in there, and then we'll check it as we go. Now you pour it nice and slow. If you had a funnel, you can lay it on up, but slow and steady does the trick. And you see the difference in the color in the oil. Now, mainly because it's synthetic versus probably non-synthetic, but this is much more slippery and greasy and oily than that sticky other oil was. So let's pour about a little less than half of this in here and then measure it with our depth stick and see where it is. So to measure it, you take your dipstick, you wipe it clean with just a rag or a paper cloth, and you can see in here you're trying to get in between this line. You want somewhere just under full. You'll see like a little OK on it, and you want it in there. So let's see what half of a quart in there does. You go all the way down, and you pull it up. are almost perfect. I'm gonna put a little touch more. It's probably gonna be really hard to see where it is, but I am about there. So a little more than halfway full. Let's do it again. I'm gonna put another, I wanna say less than a quarter in there. Let's check that. Yeah, that was probably a little too much. You can see I'm just over the full mark now, but that's okay. That's perfect. That's plenty fine. So now we've got spark, we've got oil. Let's try to fire this bad boy up. If it doesn't fire up perfectly, what we're gonna probably have to do is clean out the carburetor, but let's just hope that oil and a spark plug do the trick. This particular model has this like safety key. Make sure you read your manual. This will not work if you don't have the safety key on it. We want to put it to choke, which is that symbol, and we want to put it on the turtle mode. I got to put gas in it too. Let's put some gas in. I'm going to fill it about half a tank, maybe a little less than half a tank. If I need to turn this over or do any other work that I didn't know I needed, I won't waste a full tank. So that's about half a tank. And we're gonna give it a couple primes. Let's see if we get lucky and see if we can just pull start it. Sometimes it's all she needs. All right, there we go. So now we're on the turtle. All right, well, that's a good sign. I'm probably gonna set off every smoke detector in this house, but whatever. Let's shoot the carburetor this way. And let's try that again. That was nice and easy. She's a beaut. All right, let's try it a couple more times. I mean, she's running great. I got to do a little adjustments to the cable here. Let's let her run for a little bit. I like to let her run for a while. I'm going to spray a little carb cleaner in her. Now, while this is running, what I'm going to do is just spray the crap out of all the auger pieces, everything inside that the snow touches. This will help eliminate rust and keep everything lubed up nice. And I just douse this in here, everything in there. These pieces. see that this needs to be tightened. That's okay. Anything that has rust on it too. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm gonna take it through the gears and go through it, but that's a snowblower back to life. All right, so she lives. The old snowblower, probably from the 90s, works perfectly fine. This just shows you, if you have a 3 or 5-year-old snowblower and you can't get it going, try the spark plug, change the oil, give it some love. I didn't even have to get into the starter fluid thing. What I do is I drill a hole into the intake manifold where I can spray with the starter fluid nozzle in here. Just some starter fluid in there. And that's the other secret to getting this thing going. Don't be afraid to use a little starter fluid. You can take out the spark plug and spray it in there. Or what I do is I drill a hole into the intake and I just spray it right in there. Actually looks like this has a hole for it built in it. Let me show you this just so you guys know what to do. If it doesn't start up right away, don't be afraid to use the starter fluid. What I do is either take out the spark plug, spray it in there, you'll hear a pop and then it'll go, or I spray directly into the intake manifold. It's good to help clean out the carburetor too, so. I'm gonna show you the one at my house that I had to drill a hole in, just so you guys know what I'm talking about. Hey, what's up guys? So I thought this was gonna be a quick thing, or I just started this snowblower up. I'm at one of my rental properties, and this one is about 2 years old. This is the SnoTek by Airens. And never assume with stuff like this. What happened when I looked at it is I found out that one of the shear pins broke. So that's one of these pins that goes in here, and I don't know how this happened, but the pull broke. So as soon as I saw that, I ran to the hardware store and I picked up one of these starter handles, but I also had a couple spare shear pins. I have actually 3 extra. What I want to talk to you about is a little spare parts kit for your specific snowblower. So it's extremely important that you have a couple of these shear pins, because if in the middle of a snowstorm one of these shear pin breaks, you may not be able to get it because Home Depot sold out, because everybody breaks them during the snowstorm. You may not be able to get there, so you just want to have them, you know, on site, on deck, ready to go. I also have an extra one of these little you know, safety pins, so if that falls out, and again, I'm in the middle of a snowstorm, I'm not hunting around going crazy looking for one of these. So I have a little spare parts kit with my manual, and I just write what oil uses on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same PM on this, but first thing I wanna do is replace the pull chain. This does have the electric start, but I like having the pull chain feature. If it stalls out when I'm over here, during a snowstorm, I need to be able to start it back up rather than drag it all the way back there and plug it in and do whatever I have to do. So let's start with the pull chain, and then we'll do the shear pin. And again, I thought this was going to be quick, so please excuse the mic. I don't have my mic, that's at the house. I did not expect it to be anything but just showing you guys the little port that I made to spray starter fluid. So this is the hole that I drilled. This does not come factory, and I just spray my starter fluid in there. So anyway, let's start with the servicing on that, and then we'll start it all up using the starter fluid and what I really wanted to show you guys. All right, so the hardest part is really getting this piece out, and this is the old thing, and it's just completely frayed. I guess it's part of a routine thing. But let's see, how are we gonna get this out? All right, so basically you wind it back 3 times. I'm gonna stick a screwdriver in here just so it doesn't snap back on me. I'm lining up this little hole, and the hard part is fishing this guy in there. Maybe I'll go the opposite way. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna fish it through the back. So I went in backwards. Now I just gotta get it out, which is probably easier. I got a tool for this. All right, well, it took a little bit of redneck ingenuity there to get that going, but I went reverse in here. I fed it through here, fed it through here. I had this little grabby tool that's used for like plumbing stuff. I think it was like a couple bucks at Home Depot, and I was able to just snatch it and get it out. So what we're gonna do is tie the back end here. Really nice knot. I'm gonna do a double knot here, because the last thing I want is that to come out. So just get that double knot. That's not going anywhere. Perfect. Tuck it in there. And then on this end goes the handle, and I'm going to have to adjust it to the handle height based on how many pulls back it goes. So I did it 3 or 4 pulls. I'm going to do it nice and slow so it feeds it cleanly. Push the other end through here, make sure I have the right side in. Hopefully this isn't like the same problem we just had, but it seems to be going. Just needs to be finagled. Just turn it, it goes in. There we go, now we're through here. So nice and slow. What I don't want to do is just let this thing rip. At the end of this thing, I'm gonna just tie a knot just in case it pulls all the way through. It doesn't pull through my handle, so I'm gonna let my screwdriver out, and again, nice and slow, wind it back up. It'll naturally find a place to stop, which is about there. So now I'm going to tie my knot about there. So I want it to give me a little 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch or so on top of this. So I will pull this out. I know that my knot needs to be about there. And you know it's gonna make it easier if I cut this. And these throws are pretty universal. Like, I think they do lawn mowers, weed whackers, all these kind of throw things are pretty universal. Cut some of the slack. I might even melt that. Just so we don't have any problems. This kind of took a half hour longer than I would have liked it. Luckily I have a lighter with me. We're still in boiler pilot lighting season. So let's just hit this and fray this off. Make sure we're nice and melted. Catch on fire, help me going. I just take the lead and smush it. All the time. Now those ends won't get frayed. So there we go. Our pull's all good. Feels good. Let's put it back on. I got my 3 bolts. Bing, bang, boom. Alright, so to do your shear pin, it's probably one of the easiest things on a snowblower, but this was where the old shear pin was and was broken. You can see this is where the other one is. You basically just match the holes with the shear pin and then give it a little hand tight. So I'm going to flip that around. You know what? I'll go from this side. Make it easy for myself. Through here, got what to do with the camera. Hopefully you can see that. Anyway, that's it. You guys get the picture. Hand tighten that. I take 2 wrenches and tighten either side. Call it a day. Hand tighten, don't over crank it. Let's continue on the PM. I'm gonna do the oil and then start it all up. Alright, I am running out of battery, but it was about a half a quart. I'm just going to spray this thing down with WD-40 and then I'm going to try to hit the starter fluid and get it all on camera. Alright, so I sprayed it down with WD-40 in all the same areas as before, filled it up halfway with gas. Let's see if this thing fires up. So we're going to go on, make sure this is on, choke down here is in that position. I usually just write this start run. It's a little confusing, so I do that to remind myself. Let's see what happens. Let that run for 10 minutes or so. All right, so of course this thing started up no problem, but it is not 10 degrees out and snowing. So what I want to do is just show you how I would start this if it didn't start right up. Usually you have these problems when you keep them outside and it's snowing and it's cold and it won't start. So I created this little system just by drilling a hole right in here by the intake manifold, and I'll just spray a little bit of starting fluid in there and letting her rip. Now it didn't start right up there because it wants the gas naturally and it was running for a little bit, but if it's not starting up, try that starter fluid. Now to finish off my maintenance, what I'm gonna do is just spray a little carb choke cleaner in this intake. And that's it. Another little quick tip I have, because this is a rental property, I keep this outside. I'm not lugging it in and out of a garage. I don't have a garage here. I create like a little service station area where I have the gas, my salt on this little outdoor bin, and then I lock everything up with one of these bicycle locks I got on Amazon for like 10-30 bucks for the whole kit, with the kryptonite lock and a bike lock. That way I don't have any problems with theft or anything. And then I always cover it with a snowblower cover. So let me get it back here and show you what it looks like all locked up. All right, so this is it kind of just locked up. When you're done using it, especially during a snowstorm, very easy to leave this fuel on. Make sure you turn it in the off position. And I always put this in the off position as well. And I put this in the start, the choke in the start position. So that's it. I'm going to cover this up, but I wanted it to cool off a little bit. My exhaust manifold's a little hot still. If you guys found this video helpful, please like and subscribe at the PMCM. See you guys later.